Hello, sewist. We'll be making this baby girl's dress with a halter neckline. Looking at the round neck, you found out that it has a neck band with a button at the back, a tiny slit as well, with a bow at the waist, and it has a shoulder cape. And looking at the waist area, also found out that it has a pleat design. How we'll be studying how the pleat was formed. Without further ado, let's dive into the video. Don't forget, this is Glorious Sewing. It will be nice having you join the family by subscribing to the channel and turning on your notification bell. So we'll be starting off by cutting up our upper bodice on paper. This is because of the halter neckline, so able to get that neck waistband, that neck band I need to say. So we're cutting it first on paper, and I've drawn my starting point line and also at the side. That's why I'm starting my measurements. So first of all, I started by placing my neck depth. This is 3 by 3. I'm placing the neck width and neck depth of 3 by 3. After which I'm going to be adjusting it to the waistband. So I'll place it horizontally and vertically, the width and depth 3 inches. After which I'm going to be connecting my lines. I hope you see my drawings. We'll be placing our shoulder measurements. The shoulder divided by 2. So I marked what I have there, and be going down for our shoulder slope by 1 inch. I came down from my shoulder measurements. So I'm trying to place my shoulder measurements at that 1 inch that I came down by. And to this I'm going to be connecting to the tip of my neck width. So I connected this line to the tip of my neck width. So I'm going to be bringing down the same shoulder measurements I have. I'm going to bringing it down just to have a straight line. Okay, so I'm trying to get a straight line for the armhole depth. So after connecting it from the tip, after connecting it from the 1 inch slope that we came down by, and then I'm going to be placing my armhole measurement. Don't forget, the armhole measurement is just chest divided by 6 plus 2 inches. So starting from the shoulder slope, from the 1 inch you came down by, place your armhole depth. And I did that, and I created my marking plus half of an inch. I don't want to add the half inch after cutting it out on paper. So I added it directly just as we do when cutting directly on fabric. So I added half inches for the joining of my shoulder slope we get to the back piece. And then I went over to divide my chest by 4 inches, and I placed it on that marking as well. This is my chest divided by 4 inches plus 1.5 inches sewing allowance. You can add 1 inch or 1.25 depending on what works for you. But for this video, I used 1.5 inches for my seam allowance. You get. So from the tip, I want to measure the length of my half length. So for the purpose of this video, this gown is for a girl of 9 years, and I'm using 13 inches for the half length. Make sure you work with your measurement depending on the length or how tall the girl child is. So for this client, I'm using 13 inches for her. So you can use 14 inches, 15, depending on how tall, or even 13, depending if the girl child is of a medium height, like average height you get. And there's some babies are tall and some are short. And then this is our half length. I labeled it HL, meaning our half length. And to this measurement, we're going to be placing our waist measurement. So you divide your waist by 4, and what you have there, I'll be placing my waist measurement. Don't mind my calculator that is by the side. That's for my calculating and dividing my measurement. So I place my waist measurement divided by 4 inches plus the extra 1.5 inches for our sewing allowance as we did for the chest area. And to that, I connected my markings. So over to forming our armhole curve. I found the midpoint of my armhole depth, and to that I went in by half of an inch. And then with my curved ruler, my French curve, I'm going to be connecting the tip of the shoulder to the half inches and then all the way to the chest measurement, to the line, to the marking we drew for our chest measurement. So follow what I'm doing. So I connected it all the way, and this is what we have. And I also curved my neck area. So for the neck band, I want the neck band to be 0.75. The width, like the thickness of the neck band, I want it to be 0.5 inch or 1 inch. So after taking out that 0.75 inch, I found out that the depth is looking a little bit shorter. Like the hole around the neck will be shocking for her. So I have to come down again from my neck area. No, we did 3 by 3 inches. So I went down by an extra 0.25 inches. You get. So I will redo my markings. So at the end, what we have for our neck width, our neck depth is now 3.25 inches. So we can need our neck depth is 3.25 by 3.25 inches. And I connected my line and withdrew my curve. This is me just trying to make sure that I have what I need. You get that everything is fine.
In order to avoid any form of confusion, I'll be raising out the first neck curve that we drew to be left with the main curve. That is a 3.25 by 3.25 neck curve that we drew later. So this is it. And then after that, I will now be tracing out my neck band because that's the essence of this whole thing. I'll be tracing out my neck band of 0.75 inches. But first of all, let's reconnect our lines to make everything clear. So with my free hand, I tried to reduce the neck curve to take out any pointy edge at that region because I felt that there's a pointy edge at that point and I wanted everything to be smooth. So I tried taking out any pointy edge from that, and at the end I decided to clean it out and withdraw it using a free hand. So make use of what works for you. So here I started marking out my 0.75 for my neckband all the way to the top, after which I reconnected the lines, like I connected my curve. So this will be our neckband, and that is it. So I first marked out, drew out this curve, you can see it from the shoulder to the armhole. But rewatching the video, I found out that it's a halter neckline and not from the shoulder to the armhole, like off shoulder kind of sleeve. So I went back. So this is me coming back to my neck tip. So from this our neckband, that's where we're going to be getting our halter neckline from. So from the tip I came down by, it's just as a measurement guide, I came down by 2 inches. Can come down by 1.5, 1.75 to 2 inches. So I came down and I connected it to the armhole. So this is our outer neck, our outer neck to armhole line. So I drew my line from that inches I came down by, and I connected it to the armhole, and that is it for our halter neck. And so I'll be cleaning out the first line I drew, that's the off shoulder line, to avoid confusion, so that our eyes will be focused on what we are trying to create, the design we are working with on. So this is it, and I reconnected my lines. So just take out your neckband and connect your outer armhole, and that is all we have for the front. So I'm using this front to cut out the back. There's no difference between the front and the back. It's going to be the same neckband, the same neck width. The difference there is going to be our zipper. Going to be adding our zipper allowance to it, putting in the slits at the back. So I went ahead to mark my like to write out the allowances I'm going to be adding, and that's me writing 1/2, that is half of an inch. I'm adding it to the neckband, the up and the lower part, because I'm going to cutting it out. Then add the half inches at the waist, half length too. So I decided to mark out the half inches directly on my pattern, so that I will not be adding it on fabric for the half length area. And this is me marking out my half inches, after which I connected it by a straight line. So by the side, we already added our 1.5 inches sewing allowance by the side, so there's no more allowance at the side front. So you're going to be adding at the neckband and also at the halter neckline. I'm going to be using half of an inch to turn it in as well, and we proceed to cutting it out, and that is all we have for our front bodice, upper bodice. Also at that neck region, you know that the front and the back is going to join together at that point. So there's a need for me to reslant my curve. So this is me slanting out my curve very well to avoid this giving that off, because it was straight initially. So I connect my curve and I added my half of an inch, because I'm going to be sewing it together to the back neckband. You get. Also, don't forget, this is a halter neck region. I didn't write half of an inch there for now, but I'm still going to input it later. This halter neck that we came down by 1.75 inches and connected to our armhole, you're going to also be inputting your half inches sewing allowance there for turning it. You get, and that is all. For the center front, it's going to be on fold, so there's no need putting any allowances there. And I proceed to cutting it out. Please don't forget to join our community by subscribing to the channel, turning on your notification bell to be notified whenever you upload a new video. We make uploads every week. There's no week you don't drop an upload, and something better is coming to us. Like, we're going to go into back-to-back tutorials very soon. So stay tuned with us. Let's learn together. Like this video too, and you can also drop your questions at the comment section. We're there to attend to you. Hope you're obtaining value. So here I started to draw out that half of an inch at the halter neck directly on the pattern, so I'll not be adding it when cutting it directly on my fabric. So I added my sewing allowance of half of an inch at the halter neck region, and I connected it. So at the end, I'm just going to be adding the half of an inch at the neck band and on the neck area of the upper bodies. That's it. I'm going to be adding my allowances on while cutting it out. So I went ahead to trace out the neckband. Like, I'm cutting out the neckband. This is me writing out the center front and getting that marking, meaning that it's going to be on fold, just only for sewing allowance there. And this is it. So this is going to be our neckband. I'm going to add my half of inches at the sides. Apart from the center front, I'm going to also add my half inches there at the main bodies, and others I already added them. And this is all for upper bodies. So I went ahead to place it on my fabric, and I'll be cutting it out. For the center point, center front side, make sure that it's aligned with your fabric, like there's no allowance there. Make sure it's aligned to the folded parts of your fabric. I can see the fabric is already folded into two, right? So yeah, So we're going to proceed to adding a half of our inch at our neck region and be cutting out the whole thing out. So now this is all for upper bodies. Our front upper bodies is ready, and we want to move over to the back. So for the back, also folded my fabric into two. As I said, the front and the back is the same. The only difference is the zipper allowance and the slit is going to be at the back. So while placing the upper bodice at the folded material for the back, make sure you leave an allowance for your zipper allowance. When you want the zipper allowance inches you are using. So if you use 1.52 inches, but for me I use 1 inch. One inches is 1 inch is fine for me. So I'm using 1 inch for my zipper allowance, and then from the center front line, which is now the center back, I'm going to be adding my half of an inch. So I'm making sure there's enough room for my zipper allowance there. So I went ahead to extend the line from my neck area outward and also from my half length outward. I just extended the line outward, and then I started placing my 1 inch for my zipper allowance all the way to the full length. Then after which I'm going to connect it by a straight line, and then we proceed to creating our front slit or back slit. There's a slit at that back. You look at the video very well. There's a slit at the back, tiny slit. So this is where I want the slit to end. Get so from that armhole all the way down, that's where I'm going to add in my zipper, and then from that armhole line, which is our chest line, all the way to the up part is where I'm going to be using for my slit. We get so all the way from that shoulder, from the neck curve to this area, I'm going to be using half of an inch to it. So the 1 inch I added, I'm going to be erasing it out. So I'm going to using half of an inch just to turn in that area, because there's no zipper there. It's going to be a slit, you get, just like a slit. This half of an inch is for turning this area while sewing it with my lining, and then that means from the neck area to that point it's half of an inch, and from the armhole line, which is chest line, to the full length is 1 inch. So I cancel out that marking there. That's the mark there. After cancelling out that first line, and this is it. So to avoid any bulginess from the half length, I went up by 1 inches to avoid bulginess at the back, zip bulge, whatever. So you can use 0.75 to 1 inch for yours, and then I'm trying to trace out the end point, because I'm going to loosen this up, and with my ruler I'm going to be creating a straight line from that end to the 0.75 inches I marked. You can use 1 inch or 0.75, that's fine. And I place it back, and this is all for our back bodies. Every other thing remains the same apart from this zipper area and the half length area. So I'm going to be cutting it out.
So our front and our back bodies are ready. So now I'm going to go back to cutting out our neckband. This is the fabric I'm going to be using. I folded it into two, and I'll starting off by cutting the front band, because the front center front is going to be on fold, and I wanted to pin it down, and I'll be adding my half inches just as we indicated initially. I'll be half inch at the up and below, and also at the tip of the shoulder. You get. So I'm going to do the same thing for the lining piece. This is still for the center, the front bodies. I'm going to cut the exact same thing. This is for the facing or the lining. So I'm going to cut exactly the same thing. So just as I'm doing for this front, I'm also going to do the same thing for the back. I'll cut the neck band for the back and also cut out the lining piece for it as well. So for the center back, I'm going to be adding half of an inch, because the center back I'm going to be putting, I'm going to turn it out, like I'm going to be turning it out by that by this half inch I'm adding to it, and I'm going to be attaching my band, like that tiny band for a button at one end, and that end I'm just going to use for turning it, normal turning for the button placement to get. So the center back is going to have half inch on it, and I'm going to repeat this also for cutting out the interfacing or the lining piece. I'm going to repeat the same thing, but every other side remains the same. Like apart for the half inches I added to center back, every other thing remains the same. Don't forget to label it, your center front, because when you take out the pin, everything will be looking the same. Like you can't mark out where the shoulder is and where the center back is. So yeah, over to the cutting of the lining for the upper bodies, for the front and the back. So I'm going to be cutting the exact same thing I have on this for the lining. And then we proceed to cutting out the lining for the front side. So after this cutting out the lining, we're going to go ahead and start sewing it on our sewing machine. So for the sewing prop, we're going to start off with the front. We are going to be turning it with the lining, especially the halter neck area, like that sleeve side. We're going to be turning it with our lining, sewing it at half of an inch on both sides. We're going to sew it by half of an inch at both sides. After sewing the upper bodies, that's when you're going to be cutting out the lower part of the gown. Hope you are following. So after I'm done sewing it by half of an inch, last turning the outer area, I went ahead to give it a notch. This make it last. This is a curved area I get. So I proceed to giving it a notch on the two outer outer neck area. I like call it outer armhole because it's armhole, right? Okay. Let me know what you think, whether it's outer neckline or like with outer neck. Let me know what you think in the comment section. So I went ahead to proceed to the other side too. So I gave it the notch to make it relax. So after I was done, I went ahead to open it up and gave it a top stitch. So I top stitch on those area. Top stitch is taking the lining and placing it on the lining side, like taking the allowances, the half inches that is inside, and pushing it to the lining part and stop stitching it very close to the initial stitch. That was stop stitch is. And so I'm going to repeating the same stop stitch to the other side as well. And we head over to the back. So for the back, I'm going to be turning the halter armhole by half of an inch just as I did for the front, and I'm also going to be turning that slit at the back by half of an inch as well. So this is the slit area I'm talking about. So I'm going to sew in by half of an inch. Remember that zipper allowance is 1 inch you get. But first of all, let's go over to this thing and give it a notch just as we did for the front. I went ahead to notch the outer area and I top stitch on it as well, just as we did for the front. I'm going to be putting it on the two parts of the back before I'll proceed to turning the slit part by half of an inch. So after sewing it, I gave it a notch at that area and I turned it to the right side. I found out that I still need more notch to make it lay flat. So I turned it to the back again and gave it a proper notch. So now it's fine. When I give it a good press, you're going to see that it's laying flat very well. So I proceeded to the other part of the back and doubling the same thing, sewing it by half of an inch. After which I'm going to give it a notch to lay flat very well, especially that curved part we get. So I'm going to give it a proper notch, make it lay down very well, and I'm going to be turning it to the right side. So I'll head over to my pressing iron to give it a press. So this is what we have after I've pressed this. Don't mind the water showing it. I'm using a steaming iron. That's why you can see those small sprinkle of water on it. So this is what we have after I've given it a good press. This is for the right side and this is for the back side. You see that side is laying flat very well because of the notch I gave it. So before sewing the sides, this first of all attach our neckband. So I'm attaching my neckband to it one after the other before I'll proceed to sewing the sides. So starting from the front, this is the neckband of the front as you can see. So I place the right side facing each other, and I'm going to start off by sewing it by half of an inch, like join by half of an inch, because that is the allowance we left there. So make use of the allowance I left. So mine is half of an inch, and I'm going to stitching it down. And then I went ahead to give it a notch, after which I stopped stitched it. I gave it a notch all through. I went ahead to open it up, and I top stitched it on the lining side. So I'll be repeating the same thing for the back piece, 2 by 2. You know, like it's 2, and the other side is also 2. So I'm going to be sewing by half of an inch again, which will give it a notch and top a stop stitch as well. So this is what we have after we are giving it a good point. This is for the front, and then this is for the back, the two back piece. So we're going to go ahead to attach it to our neckline. So here I've attached it to my neckline and sewed it by the allowance we left. And on the shoulder too, we joined it at the shoulder. You can see how neat the inner shoulder is. There's no seam allowance showing. You should be used to how you join our shoulder tips by now. That's the same method I used. So now I'm going to go over. You can also see that at the back I also attach this small hook, I call it hook of loop for our zip for our button. And then I went ahead to sew it by the 1.5 inches we added for our seam allowance at the two side. So now we're going to proceed to measuring out what we have from the one side of the back to the other side. We're going to measure what we have at the waist. This is going to be a guide to the cutting out of our lower piece. You know, the waist, it's a pleated fold, like the folds were pleated. So I stopped to watch the video multiple times to see how the pleat was formed, and I watched it until I was able to find out that this was the way they pleated it, which you're going to be seeing in a jiffy. So after measuring it out, this is what I have, that's 5 inches for the whole waist area for mine. So measure yours out, and we're going to use this as a guide to cutting out our lower piece. So how to use that as a guide is that going to tell me how full you want your plate to be. You can make your plate to be like the waist area to be, like example I got 35 inches, you can make it be 35 inches times 2 or 2.5 to measure out the length of my material we get. So but first of all, we are going to proceed to measuring out the length from the half length to the full length of my gown. So I went ahead to mark them out from the half length to the full length, adding half inches for joining it at the waist and 1 inch for hemming the lower part. So we're going to straight marking it out, and I'll connect it by a straight line before cutting it out. I'm sorry my camera wasn't getting where I was shocking the length, but this is literally what I did here. I measure the length after I've added the half inch for joining to the waist to the upper bodice and 1 inch for hemming the lower parts, and I proceed to cutting out the full length. So to avoid the material being too long for me, I folded it into two, and while I proceed to cutting it, like to reduce the lengthiness of how I'm going to be marking, folded into two to make it easier for me, and I continued my marking, after which I cut them out. So this is the pieces we have after cutting it out. This is what we're going to be using to forming our pleats for the lower bodies, and this is my lining piece as well. And so we're going to proceed to sewing them. You see how long the length is. This is what I'm going to be using for the pleat. So you can use this calculation to also get yours. And so I'm going to head over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to be hemming the lower part all the way to the other end. I will also be repeating the same thing for the lining piece, hemming the lower part. So for the lower part, this I've attached the pleats. So I'll be explaining how I did it. It's a two-way pleat. So from the other end, you pleat. I pleated, I could pleat two times. Like for the beginning, I pleated three times, and then I did a kissing print, which is like a reverse pleat. Just watch the placement of the pleat. Like from the end, you pleat one, two, three. Then you reverse the pleat like a kissing print, and you make it to have a little bit of space. You do a kissing print again, a kissing print, and coming to the middle part, you repeat the pleats like two times. Like it's like you're doing a two-way pleat, reversing the pleats twice again, one, two, and then you pleat again. Just study the pleats as I'm explaining, so I'm doing it. So just like doing a reverse pleat. When you pleat normal pleating, normal size, you do a reverse pleating, give it a little bit of space, and do a kissing print. You get. So that is what I found out when I paused the video to watch it very well. So I went ahead. I'm going to be attaching my lining to this. So this is how I'm going to be placing my lining. I place my lining so that it can cover up this rough edge at the waist. After which I'm going to go over to my weaving machine to weave out the rough edge. If you have any question, do well to drop it in the comment section. I'll be there to attend to you. Like I'll answer your questions you get. But I believe I explained this very well. But if not, try asking your question. I will explain it better in comment section too. So I'll place my lining piece to it. I'm attaching it at the this so that when I close it, it is going to cover up that rough edge you get. Although I'm still going to weave it as well. So this is what we have after I've done attaching my lining piece. You see it covered up that rough edge, and I've gone ahead to also weave the rough edges. As you can see, I weaved the rough edges out, and the inside is looking neat. This is what I'm trying to achieve here. So the next thing is to head over to my sewing machine and be attaching my zipper. You get. That's how the inside is, and then that's how the outside is. Everything's looking beautiful. So I'll be attaching my zipper piece to it. That 1 inch that we added for our zipper allowance, the 1 inch. So I'll be using that 1 inch for my zipper to attach my zipper. So I already have a video on this channel how to attach an invisible zipper. So do well to check it out. That's the same method I'm using to attach this invisible zipper to the gown. So I'll be sewing the remaining parts down by that same 1 inch. That means the part the zipper will not be, I'll be sewing down by the same 1 inch. So that is all for this gown. Let's head over to the cape. So for the cape piece, that's an off shoulder cape. Make sure you have measured your client's round shoulder. Then I'll be attaching this medium hair stay to it. And then for my material, I folded it into two and I'm giving it a good press. So now I'm going to start up by marking how thick I want my cape to be. I'll be using a cape of 2 inches. So I'm trying to mark up my starting point line, and from there I'll measure out my cape. So I'll be placing the 2 inches all the way to the tip. So I later recalled this. I found out that the cape was short. Remember, this is going to be a two cape, like it's going to be joining at the middle point of the at the midpoint of the center front. That means you have to measure, do your round shoulder measurement or off shoulder measurement divided by two. You get, because it's going to start from the midpoint of the center front to the back, and then the same thing for the other side from the middle to the back. So it's going to be a two cape. Then after placing my 2 inches, I went ahead to add my half inches sewing allowance at the sides, and this then I'll be cutting it out. And I'm going to be cutting this exact piece again. So this is two, and I'm gonna head to attach my medium head stay to it. So I've head over to my sewing machine to turn it up with this lining piece, to be turning up the rough edge by the lining piece. So I'm going to be sewing this by half of an inch that we added as our sewing allowance, and we'll be right back. So I'm done sewing it down, as you can see. So the next thing is to press it down to give it a good press. So I'll press it down with my steam iron, and I'll be repeating the same thing for the other cape as well. And then we head over to how to attach it to our gown, and then giving it a neat finishing, especially at the armhole area, that's the sleeve area. So the next thing now is you're going to take one piece of the cape, start from the center front of your gown and pin it down all the way to the back. And then that point that you found out that that's where the sleeve is, you're going to be notching it out. So you see how I notched it out, and then this is the place where the sleeve is going to be. I turned it over to the other side and I sewed it by the half of an inch, and later you're going to turn this over to the wrong side. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So when you're done turning it over to the right side, then place it again to make sure that it is equal. You see that the place that my sleeve started from, I gave it a notch. This is what I'm trying to explain here. I gave it a notch, and I flipped over to the back side, and then gave it a notch again where it's going to start again at the back, and this is the armhole area. I turned over to the wrong side and I gave it a stitch. I stitched it down so that it's going to have a neat finishing over there. And then for this rough piece that is remaining, I'm going to double fold it, or you can use a bias tape if you have one, and sew it down just like so that the flap rough edge will not be showing. Make sure it's not exactly at that crease line, but that the crease line is going to be where you're going to be sewing it down to your cape, you get, to your gown. Also, if you don't want to give it a double fold, you can also use a weaving machine to weave it, and then you fold it once. Just give it a one fold. You can just use your weaving machine. Make sure that your thread is same color with your material, and then you just weave out the rough edge. With this, you can proceed to sewing your cape down to your gown without doing this. So I will sew this down, and I will stop, and then head over to the other parts for the back side, sew it down, and I'll be doing the same thing for the other piece of the cape as well. Hope you are following. Please let me know in the comment section, and try and give this video a thumbs up. Thank you. Join the communities if you have not also joined by subscribing and turning your notification bell and setting it to all to get notified whenever I upload a new video. So after you are done sewing, doing this sewing, you're going to go ahead and pin this cape down to your gown from the center point to before the zipper allowance you get. So you can see I've done that pinning here. So I'll go ahead and sew this all the way to the other side. Be careful while sewing it. Make sure your stitch is on the crease line and not after the crease line, so that you not be shorten your cape length for it to lay flat to get, because after the crease line is where the paper gum stay is. That means you're trying to make it to be standing so of it to be laying down flat. You get, so carefully attach your cape. So as you sew, you take out your pin, and at this center front, make sure that the two capes are equal, like they started at the same point. You get, just like one will be up and the other one will be down, and then you continue our sewing all the way to the other side as well. So this is the final outlook. You see how neat and beautiful it is. You see the sleeve area laying beautiful, neat. The rough edges are not showing because we sewed it inside. Then what we continued. So this is what we have. This is how your own should look like as well, if you follow just as I explained. And then we're heading over to doing the flower design at the back. It is a bow design at the back at the zipper area. So I've cut out this piece for it, and I'll be sewing it by half of an inch the sides. I'll sew it, leaving a space for turning out the rough edge, like for turning it over to the right side you get. So I'll be sewing it by half of an inch. So this is what I have after I'm done sewing it. I'll turn it over to the right side. So you see, this is where I gave the space that I used in turning it out. And I'll be heading over to my sewing machine, my press iron, to press it down. And this is the small piece I'm going to be using to form the bow you get. So now this is the space, and I'm gonna have to I ironed the cape area. That's what I showed you. And now I've ironed also the bow. So I'll give it a gathers at the middle. So I gave it a gathers at the middle there. So I'll be using this. Make sure it's at the middle you get. Make sure that your flower is formed where will be your bow you get. So I'm using this piece to sew it, like to hold it down. This is how it's looking after I'm done sewing it down. So we now be taking care of this rough edge. So it's I cut one to be long and the other one to be shorter. And then I'm going to be folding this in, like double folding it, and I will sewing it down again. Just cover up that rough edge. So you can use a needle and thread to tack this down, you get. So just pick a little from the side and just tack it down, so that this tiny piece that we just double folded now will be lay flat. It's not be standing. And then this is all for our bow. So I'll be attaching a hook to the sides. Like I'll attach a hook, make sure it's in the middle, and I'll place a hook
at the side so that the person can just hook it down after wearing it. You get. Or you can use that press down button for it. So this is all for our video at this tutorial. So make sure you have subscribed, you like this video, share it among your fellow sewing partners, and see you on my next one. Until then, remain blessed. Bye.